Yeah, like I said, I told you that, and I told Kudo this too. Like he sent the link, and I saw it, and I was like, "Oh, this is pretty interesting." And I did try it, and I got like blocked because I was like my Brave browser had ad block turned on, so it like blocked it, and it wouldn't let me use it. And I did just kind of give up after that. So I didn't actually get a chance to play with it. But from everything I
Okay,
heard,
we're gonna
everyone
we're gonna we're gonna fucking do this right now.
right now, you're
We're
gonna send
gonna
me a tip link. Well,
yeah,
so
right
Kudo is
right
coming
right
to the
now.
New York Hacker House like next week, so I'll meet him in person too. And I have questions for him because like one of the things that get me is and we've talked about what was it, MagicLink before, where it's like they have a secure key custody solution that is somehow based on like an email address. And just like mentally in my mind,
Yes.
I can't think of how that works and how that is securely storing or managing your keys. I just don't understand the mechanism behind it. And partially because like how my brain works, like if I can't understand the mechanism behind it, or I can't like willingly like push the I believe button on myself, then it's really hard for me to figure out to adopt it, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Well, hold on. Let's talk about that real quick, right? Because first of all, I wouldn't want you to adopt a thing that you feel uncomfortable with, right? Like that's the first thing. Is like the whole point here,
Yeah.
the like of good UX is to adopt a thing that feels seamless and
Yeah.
comfortable and secure, right? Like
And
something not
knowledge is
feeling
one of those
secure
things that
is
I need.
something not feeling secure is in and of itself a UX problem, in my opinion, right? Like something about the user experience has left you feeling unsafe, shaky. That's just as much a problem as like something being too difficult to grok, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So I'll start with that.
Education is also part of that though. If your
Wow.
users aren't educated
Yeah.
on how your thing works enough to the point to get them over those hurdles, then
So
you're not going
let's
to get adoption.
let's talk about the cloud wallet type of thing though, right? Is like you use stuff all the time that is the equivalent of that. Like you have a bank account that like uses traditional web 2 security measures to keep anyone but you out of your account,
Yes.
right? And you trust that enough. Arguably, I could be wrong, but my assumption here is that you have more uh, financial value stored there than you do on a blockchain.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So like what you're saying, like that to me is incompatible with what you just said, where you're like,
Well,
I
no,
feel
it's not. So
uncomfortable
you
with
missed
this
you missed
thing.
part of the thing that I said is it's I either have to understand it or I have to be willing to push an I believe button of I accept this and I can move on. And just
Got it.
this
So with
type of
so
thing
with your
because I
bank account
understand.
credentials,
Yes, with the bank account
with,
credentials, I am willing to push that I
it,
believe
it,
button because I am
got
basically
it.
I'm indoctrinated into the Web 2 financial system
So
because I've
okay,
had
so
it
I
for
was
all of
I
my
was
life.
interpreting it. Yeah, I was interpreting it as you understand the security measures there, and I was gonna say a cloud wallet has similar security measures.
Well, I
Uh,
understand some of them, but I also understand like so I'm a US citizen, all of my banking is in the US, and for better or for worse, all of that is I don't want to say validated, but it is there are reassurances by the United States federal government on all of that to some extent, depending on what type of asset it is. That's an additional layer
yeah,
of consumer protection that I have. So it makes it easier to push that I believe button, as I like to call it. Vice with crypto, I understand how blockchain works. I mean, I would hope so at this point. Um, I understand like how blockchain works and how private
so
keys
so.
and stuff are like handling things and key management as a user. I have a vague understanding of how centralized exchanges do some amount of key management, and that's similar. But the only centralized exchange I use is Coinbase, partially because they are well known in the space. They are a United States publicly traded company. So I get all of those additional
You feel good with the
reassurances.
I believe button.
Exactly. I feel
Yeah,
good with the I believe button. And Coinbase
yeah.
is the only
So
centralized
have
exchange
you
I use purely as an on and off ramp, though. I don't keep anything in it.
have you read the Magic white paper?
No, I haven't.
It's so I'm
We
not gonna lie,
talked
it was
about it
actually
before
pretty
though.
cool. I think it's yeah, I think it's worth checking out. I definitely look, I'm not the expert here who should be able to say like all of what's happening and all that. That being said, it's like their setup is very similar. Stick with me here because I'm going to make a comparison that doesn't seem to make sense, and then I'll bring it back.
Okay.
Uh, their setup is very similar to what I would say like serverless hosting providers setups are, right? Where like if you deploy a program with Vercel, for example, they actually spin up a new AWS instance
Mhm.
for the things that you're working with, right? Like
Sure.
you're
Yeah.
not just getting lumped into like the same compute space as like all their other customers. They actually sort of spin up a separate instance for you and what you're working on, that kind of thing. Um, and similarly, when you like, you know, log in with Magic with your email, they spin up a separate secure AWS bucket like that's tied to your email, right? And then inside that secure bucket is basically two things: storage for your key and an interface for signing a transaction. And that's it. There is no mechanism for retrieving that key that Magic can look
By
at.
interface to sign the
It's
transaction, you mean like I'm a consumer. I say I want to
of
sign the transaction. Here's the transaction.
there
Sign it
there
with
is
my
a
key.
there's a
Send
fun
it
there's
back
a
to me.
exactly
Okay.
exactly. So the browser is assembling the transaction, right? And then it is sending it to I mean, for simplicity's sake, let's call it like an AWS Lambda function. I don't think that's actually what it is, but for simplicity's sake, let's call it a Lambda function called sign transaction, where like the it the see, Lambda function, that's a bad way to do it either, because my understanding is the key isn't actually exposed anywhere. It's like you send a transaction into a black box, the
Yeah.
transaction
We'll
comes
call it
back
a
out
black box.
signed.
Yeah. Yeah.
The
Okay.
key the
Well, that's
key
the same
the
way a
key
ledger
is not
works too.
actually exposed.
That's the exact same way a
Yes,
ledger
exactly.
works, except the ledger
So
is
the
just
key is
not
not
connected to the internet.
yes. So the piece here that you're trusting is how secure is the
Is
is the
AWS at
secure
securing keys?
bucket on AWS. So there's that's one thing, right? Which I think is a fair thing to question, but also like we've I think implicitly decided it's secure enough because we
Mm-hmm.
use it all the time for other things all across
Yeah.
the web, and we just
Spoiler
don't know it,
alert: almost the
right?
entire
So
internet runs on
so like
top of it.
everything. Exactly. I think implicitly we've decided that's good enough, right? Like I said, I have more monetary value in non-crypto stuff than I do in crypto stuff, and that non-crypto stuff is effectively being secured this way. Um, and then the second thing that you're trusting, that I think this is where you have to question a little more, is you're questioning Magic's code, right? The code that is actually doing the signing and that sort of stuff. Again, I think the way that they've structured it is such that the worst case scenario is not private key being compromised. It's there's a bug that makes it so the transaction doesn't get signed or sent, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Even that I don't think happens, right? But I don't think their code actually allows for the private key to be exposed anywhere. Um, there's no such thing as 100% secure, so I'm not going to say that as like a, it could never happen, because I don't know. But
Well,
I
from
feel
my
very
understanding of how
comfortable
like
with.
AWS credentials are set up is you can basically tell AWS this can only happen. Don't do never do never. Those aren't real words. You can basically tell AWS to never expose it, and then it's like AWS handles all of that. So my guess is, especially if they are in fact using AWS under the hood, which statistically very likely, that's probably what it is. They're just saying
Well,
AWS.
Magic is. I am aware of some implementation details with Magic since they are a client.
And
I
for
don't
context,
know
we're
all
talking
of
about
the implementation
magic.link
details,
for
but
anyone listening. That's magic.link. That's
yes.
their product and their website and their app name for context. And we'll link up their white paper in the show notes as well.
Yeah, it's look, I mean, look, I like Magic. Like I said, they're a client of mine, and so I'll like throw out
Are you
a
shilling
like
now?
that's both a that's both a disclaimer and a shill, right? That's like it's like a legal cover my base, but
That's
also a
fair.
shill. Um, but but I also want to sort of take a look at this, not through the specific implementation of Magic
Mhm.
specifically, but just like the general idea
Yeah, the whole concept
of
of this
you can have
process.
a private key, you can have a private key and never know you have a private key.
Yeah,
You can just have
yeah, it's true.
login credentials or something, right? Like there is, what I want is for people to think outside the box and imagine different ways of interacting with crypto. Uh, like for example, the thing that the TipLink stuff has me thinking about is like, oh yeah, there are all kinds of crypto situations where crypto is just a, a way stop, right? Where it's like you don't even necessarily need to keep your stuff on chain. If transferring securely is the thing you're looking for, then you go from bank account to chain transfer and then withdraw to another bank account. And that's going to happen quicker than the systems that we currently have in place, at least in the United
Not
States,
even just quicker,
for
but more
for
efficient in almost every
ACH.
way. Like you get less fees
Yeah.
if you're on a low fee blockchain. You can be incredibly fast if you're on a fast blockchain. You can be secure if you're on a secure blockchain, and you can have all of those things all at the same time if it is set up correctly, which it sounds like TipLink is. And like I said, I'm gonna meet Kudo in person here in the next like week or so, and I'm very curious to hear about like his experience of working at TipLink. I think he just recently started there, but just like how their like inner systems work. Like I'm just always very curious, and yeah, I just love learning. It's really what it comes down to. And I am very curious. I'm not saying like they're them or any similar type of product is a bad product or anything. I just am naturally an inquisitive person, and I just want to know more.
So Kudo's tweet the other day. So with TimLink, I
Mm-hmm.
can now
Yeah,
send
I
my
saw
mom
it.
a link with money on it. Since you can create a wallet with your Google account on TipLink, she can sign in with Gmail to claim. So it sounds like TipLink has a very similar thing to Magic here, where there's some kind of cloud wallet system, right? Finally, she can withdraw to bank right in the app as well. Already familiar with this flow from other apps/services. Can send crypto with link. User claims with Gmail, withdraws to bank account without even knowing anything crypto just happened. This is the future, only possible in Solana plus TipLink. I think this is great. Like
Yeah.
that is awesome in my
Did you
opinion.
when you tested
Um,
this, when you tried it, did you go through like a full end-to-end attempt where
I
you
did I, I
transferred
I
from a
did
bank
not. So
account and then back out?
I did not. Do you want to, should we do that right now?
Yeah, do it live. Why not?
Should we do this live?
I don't know.
Okay.
Sure. YOLO.
I'm gonna log in with Google. I'm gonna log in with Google here. We're gonna figure this shit out. Um, choose the Google account to log in with.
Do you want that blurred
Preparing
out?
your TipLink account. Cool. So it's creating. I don't know what part needs to be
Your
blurred out.
personal email?
Um, oh yeah, good call.
Cool. Yeah. We should
I
blur
do
that
want
out.
that blurred out. Um, so okay, so I now have an account. Uh, there is a little button that will expose my public key, but so far this interface looks like Venmo, that type of thing, right?
Yeah, sure.
Not exactly Venmo, but that's the general idea. Like
It looks like
there's
a,
nothing here indicating that
yeah,
this has to be crypto,
yeah,
right?
except for that
There
NFT
is a
phrase
button
right
for me to
there.
expose my public key. There like yeah, I mean like there's crypto stuff here, but if I didn't know anything about crypto, I would still get this interface, is
Yeah,
what I'm
yeah, I
saying,
agree. I agree.
right? Like there's a connect wallet button. There's a expose not expose, but view your public key button. Like there are buttons that are going to make sense to crypto natives, but the rest of this still looks normal for a non-crypto native. There's a send money, like there's a big bold, zero
This
USD
your balance.
sign, which that's my balance, right? Like there's a send. So presumably that's how I send money to someone. There's deposit, there's withdraw, and there's swap. So maybe swap doesn't make sense to me if I don't know crypto, but everything else like is
Well,
golden.
not necessarily, because
Um,
like people that do foreign exchanges, like you're swapping between different currencies. So I think that could also still make sense for a non-crypto person.
yeah, there are some maybe some subsets of people where that makes sense, and others where it doesn't. But either way, enough of the user interface that makes sense that I don't think anyone is confused is kind of what I'm getting at here.
Yeah, I agree.
looks like so deposit says select source to add money into this TipLink. Um, deposit assets via this wallet's public key.
So
Okay, so I'm not
nothing
actually
I'm seeing
seeing
right
where I
here
can do.
actually is how you deposit into like via your bank account though. Like this is just
Yeah, so that
a
yeah,
nice
so
looking interface for
I
crypto
crypto.
or
I was
for
expecting
monetary
to have
value.
I was expecting to have an easy button here for connecting the bank
Yeah,
account, and
same.
maybe that's in the works. I mean, they have it listed on this tweet as a new feature, and I'm like seeing where you can connect to a bank account in the tweet. Oh, here we go. Click withdraw, select bank account withdrawal option, bank connect via Plaid. Okay, so
Oh,
maybe it's
maybe it's
just an
just
option for
the withdrawal
withdrawal,
right
not
now.
deposit.
Mm,
There
bank
is a
account,
bank account
and you have no
withdrawal.
balance. Yeah,
Currently,
that's
we
fine.
support withdrawal of USDC to bank in US only. So this is US only.
Hmm.
Um, yeah. So I mean,
Something
look,
something
still
U.S.
cool.
regulation is a crapshoot. Who knows?
Here's an easy way to test this is I'll just send some USD to this USDC to this public key real quick.
Well, it looks like it's going to try to have you
Let me
go
just
through
jump.
full KYC, which we won't have you do that like on the video and everything. But I agree, like the interface is pretty sleek. Like I'm looking forward to meeting a bunch of the TipLink people. I'm going to meet a bunch next week, not just Kudo actually. Um, and like we're going through this, and it seems like this is an ad. Like we're just advertising their product, 100% like not sponsored.
No,
Um,
we've
we're just
talked
like
about two different
showing
cloud
this.
wallets at
Well,
this point. It's
yeah, but
just
I'm just saying
yeah.
like, well, aside from your affiliation with Magic, and I guess technically my previous affiliation with MagicLink, um, by your association, uh,
Oh, that's right. I had you
that's
do
true.
some subcontract work there.
But aside from that, ooh, it's already reflected. I see the balance reflected right underneath.
That was fast.
It's the
I
beauty of Solana.
literally just pushed the button and it just popped up here. I love it. Freaking Solana's the best. That was literally instantaneous. That was nuts. All right, so I've got $10 in USDC here. I go to withdraw. Now the bank account option works. The deposit option still doesn't work, which is unfortunate. But bank account, I can withdraw to bank account. Um, it's gonna have me put in
Yeah,
some
it looks like it's going to do a whole
info.
bunch of,
Cool. So you
and then
do a little
great.
KYC. That's a little bit of friction. I don't love it, but also like that you're gonna have to do that
It's
with
KYC. You're
most
going to have to do
financial
it,
stuff. So
especially in the
so
U.S.
it is what yeah, it is what it is. And then there's a button that says connect my bank account, and this opens the Plaid flow. So at this point, I'm not even gonna continue going through this because like I've done the Plaid flow a million times. This is one of those. This is one of those. I push the I trust it button or I believe button just because
Yeah,
everyone like this
Plaid is
is
one of those products that I also push the I believe button.
look, yeah, and at a certain point, like for anyone in the comments who's gonna get mad about this, like at a certain point, we all social consensus trumps all. Um, in fact, I remember totally tweeting about this once, where he's like, look, even even the security of the blockchain comes down to social consensus, right? Like technically, all the validators could conspire to rewrite history, but we just don't believe that like that's going to happen because of the way that the
That
system
society
is set up
works.
and the way
That's the way
the
that
way the
society
incentives
works.
are set up, right? But technically, like social consensus rules all. Period. Full stop.
Yeah,
Right. And so like social consensus for me is saying like I trust Plaid. So like okay, I trust Plaid. Doesn't mean I have to like I don't know. It doesn't mean it's the only option, but it's like yeah, I'm gonna trust that as much as anything else. It's the same way I feel about like Google with securing my data. I might not want Google to have certain data of mine, but
what?
I trust Google more than most
Yeah,
companies
same.
with the security of my data, right? It's like uh, they're less likely to have a security exploit than a company with fewer resources.
That's true.
That kind of thing, you know. Um, anyway, I'm all for removing the how often I have to push the I believe button, right? I'm all for um, trying to remove that and not having to trust in like middlemen and that kind of thing. That being said, having the goal being to reduce that is not the same as the goal being to eliminate that. Ultimately, like we do live in a society. We are not, right? Like uh, there is always going to be some element of like, yeah, I have a government that I have to interact with, or I have a community that I have to interact with, that kind of thing. We're not just gonna, it's right, like we're not just gonna live in a completely lawless society built on blockchains.
And that's like one of the things that like gets me about Web3, the Web3 space as a whole. Not like any particular blockchain, but like there's so many people that have, well, there's a subset of really loud people that have this ideology, and like everyone's entitled to an ideology. Like fine, like do your own thing, but a lot of people have this a specific ideology that it's almost like an anarchism, which like is valid depending on your upbringing, your background, the country you were born in. And I can understand why people in certain circumstances would have that type of viewpoint. But like you said, like what it does come down to is you live in a society. No matter where you live, unless you're in the woods by yourself and no one's around you, you live in a society. You have to participate in a society. So you need on and off ramps to crypto, or you need on and off ramps from using crypto and to use crypto. For better, for worse, you do get inherent security and not necessarily trust, but you do get things from that. You get backing from a government, potentially, depending on where you're at. Strong caveat there, sure, but it's different for everybody around the world. But it's like solving like the thing to I guess to kind of like close the door on TipLink for now. The thing that I really like about their whole process, or not process, but their whole like idea of what they're trying to do is they are trying to remove the friction, which is absolutely something the entire space needs. And having like a pretty good user interface like that looked pretty smooth, looked pretty good. That was my first time like actually seeing it, and it's like having that type of interface and the ease of use for quote unquote regular people to try to do things is the only way we're going to bring more people into the space, and that's the only way that anything that anyone is doing in blockchain is really going to matter. Like like we had Chase on the episode the other day, and he one of the things he said was it's blockchain is developers building for developers, and it's like there's no point in doing that unless more people come in, unless you're just here to build things for developers, then like fine. But if you're here for a monetary value of crypto and of like tokens and whatnot, if more people don't come to the space, then there is no point to that, right? There's very little point to that.
The there's this massive two-edged sword, in my opinion, in crypto, which is like the fact that crypto brings monetary incentive, I think is how I would describe it, into into like, I don't know, incentivizing different behaviors, is such a blessing and a curse. And what I mean by that is like, I think a lot of decentralized protocol, like crypto is not the first decentralized anything, right? Like decentralized protocols have existed forever, but especially like early days of the internet, like the internet is built on decentralized protocols, just open source shit that
Yeah.
people built just
Blockchain
because, right?
technology was built in like
Um,
the 80s.
and
It's just until Bitcoin in like 2008, it didn't really have a monetary value behind
but
it.
but I don't even mean blockchain protocols. I just mean like I just mean, the idea of decentralization and open source protocols, like that's not new. The thing that blockchain does that I think is a big step forward is it adds financial incentive to participate, right? So like if you think about decentralized protocols on the normal internet, it's like people are just going to participate if they want to participate, but that's a that's like a if you need mass participation in a thing, that is,
Hard to
you're
do,
just
hard
you're
to
just
get.
like putting up a prayer. You're like, I don't know, that how's that supposed to work, right? Like it's no wonder to me that sort of the power consolidated into this like tech oligopoly, right? Of like 5 or 6 massive tech companies that just kind of run everything on the internet. Um, that's not surprising to me. Of course, it wasn't going to
Not at
stay
all.
decentralized and distributed. There was no incentive for that. But what blockchains, I think do is by saying, "Hey, we're going to run a network that has a token, the value of which is going to be determined based on, um, the use of the network, and you can earn that token by you know being a validator in Solana's case,
By
right?
participating in a
um
network
that yeah,
in
like
whatever
that
fashion
to
that
me
means.
that to me is huge, and that's what makes the idea of decentralization possible. So that's the blessing side of things, right? Is the curse side of it, though, is like, i think I think it muddles up what we actually are using crypto for, right? Like you said, it's developers building for developers. We basically have this like weird echo chamber of what we're building and what we're doing, that's entirely based on making the number go up and making money. And that is not me saying that's a bad use case. It's just
It's
me
just a
saying that
use case, but it
it
doesn't have to
muddies
be the
it
use
muddies the
case.
waters. Yeah, it muddies the waters for like finding all the other use cases, right? um and I struggle with that sometimes, and sometimes it's disillusioning, right? Like there are definitely days where I'm like, the fuck am I doing in like the blockchain space, right? And then there are other days where I see like Kudos tweet about TipLink, and I'm like, oh, that's right, this can get better, you know. Or when I interact with like dialect, right? And it's like, oh yeah, that this can get better, this is great, like um uh, the explanation behind smart messages and dialect like left me genuinely like, oh yeah,
In
okay,
awe, almost.
there are use cases, there are it no, it absolutely did, not even almost, like it definitely did. But it's like, yeah, there are actual use cases for this that can benefit people's lives. You're a creator and you want to give people not only read access to your stuff, but like the ability to execute some action through a link. Awesome. Smart messages on Solana. Let's fucking go. You know?
Yeah,
So anyway, that was a little bit of a rant, but like,
it's a good rant. I like
yeah.
it. I I've been so
The
speaking
fuck
of
happened
like
to our guest?
I don't know, our guest, we got rugged. Uh I
We
don't know.
got fucking rugged today,
It's
guys.
a good thing we started recording. I'm sure we'll have it on. We won't say who it is, but we have someone scheduled, and we'll follow up with them later. But two questions before we go. One, are you wearing your Breakpoint hoodie? Is that what that is? Or is that your
Um,
Hacker House?
this is not Breakpoint. This is my Solana hoodie that I got from the second Solana, what would you call it, class I ever taught. I
Oh,
like
that's
taught a
cool.
class, you
Because like I
guys,
was I was
foundation
asking because like we have the exact same logo on, and then
logo. Yeah. So I
this is my
I got this
Breakpoint
one
or
in,
the Hacker House Lisbon
I think it
Hacker
was
House shirt.
April. Yeah, so I got this one in April 2022 in Miami. I flew out there to teach for 2 days at the start of a hackathon. I think it was the Miami Activate hackathon.
Hmm.
So it wasn't like just Solana, but Solana was one of the sponsors there, and like we had a booth there and everything. And yeah, so like Chase asked me to go teach a conference. That's actually the week prior to that was when I first met Donnie and Dana in person. Um, I like I taught a class to some other like hacker group in LA, and then the next week was in Miami for Miami Activate, and they had some swag, and I got some swag, and it's still one of my favorite sweatshirts.
Dude, I always appreciate some
I'm all
good
about
swag.
swag.
Um, cool.
You have some swag there, right? That you're
There
saving for me,
is there.
right? Right? Right?
What swag
No?
did you want?
Yes? I mean, you sent me a picture with an entire table full of stuff,
I said this is here. I didn't
and
ask you if you wanted any. So full
I
full disclosure.
said,
So
you better
we're doing.
save some of that for me.
I I might have something for you. Well, you're not coming to New York, so
I said I wanted that cup. I said I wanted. Okay.
You said you weren't going to come to
That
New
doesn't
York,
mean
so
I will never be in New York.
I
That doesn't,
know.
that's the point. That's what save it for me means.
Well,
Is
so
like
like we're
save it
doing
for when I
right
do
now,
see
the
you.
DevRel team is doing this workshop. There's like 30 or so people, and they're like new to Solana development for the most part, most of them. And a bunch of them just got like a bunch of the swag yesterday, and everyone's like super, super jazzed up. Everyone's got like their swag on right now, and it's like, yeah, it's just good vibes.
I love swag. And I'm not going to lie, the Solana logo is awesome.
It is. Okay, here's a question for you. Which Solana logo
Okay.
do you like best? Do you like the plain white, plain black, like just a monochrome? Do you like the purple and green gradient, or do you like the orangey gradient one?
The orangey one's not my vibe.
Okay.
The purple and green one is. The single color is for sure. So like it's between those two, and there I don't know that I could choose one. I think it would depend on the what it's on. Like
Yeah,
I
yeah, that's
prefer
fair.
the single color for clothing,
Yeah, that's
right?
fair. Most clothing.
Um,
Yeah, I would agree
but
with that.
like for a sticker to put on my computer, I like the green and purple is dope, right?
I have a
Like
black
that.
computer. I
I
just
think it
put
just
one of the green and
depends on the
purple
use
ones
case.
on, and it looks real nice.
Sick.
It's my work
Yeah, that'd
computer
be.
too. So matte
I'm
black
I'm all for that.
sticker.
Give
It
me
looks
give me
it
give
looks
me
legit.
give me one of them. Give me one of them stickers.
I got a sweet Solana Pay. Shout out to the Solana Pay spec and team. I've actually been playing with Solana Pay a lot recently. And speaking of signing arbitrary transactions, Solana Pay, I finally started messing with it,
You figured
and
it out.
I
You
figured it
finally
out.
figured it out.
Super easy.
We had an entire episode of
We
me
did.
trying
We
to
did.
educate you on this.
And I was just like, yeah, I should look at the docs. I finally did, like last weekend. So like 4 days ago.
And it's super straightforward and
Super
super easy.
straightforward, super
It's
great.
great.
I'm building something. Ooh.
What are you building?
I will leave it as a spoiler for next
You gotta
episode.
give me you gotta give me more than that.
It's a spoiler for the
A
listeners. The listeners get a
It's
teaser,
a teaser?
and you'll soon TM.
No spoilers.
No spoilers.
All right. Well,
just a teaser.
you can tell me, and we can cut it out of the edit. Uh,
Maybe.
I'll make you tell me afterward.
Oh yeah, for sure.
All
right.
You're always building things. I freaking love
dude,
it.
I like building stuff. I built this weekend, and it's mostly done. At least like a version to do the thing. I'll give you a hint. It uses Solana Pay.
Yeah, we got that already.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's see.
Yeah.
Should so listeners, we got rugged this week. Hopefully, it was a good combo. Anyway, I enjoyed it. I'm stoked to have.
I'm
actually
glad we
used
started recording
TipLink
when
now,
we did,
and not just have talked about. Yeah, me too. Any last words for the listeners? That made it sound kind of dark, like last words.
No,
But anything before we wrap?
Let's see. The New York Hacker House will have just happened by the time this episode goes live. So if I got a chance to meet anyone in person, awesome, thanks, good vibes. And if you didn't meet me in person,
what are the dates for that?
June 6th to 10, I think. And this episode should go live.
Maybe I can get a last minute deal.
Ooh,
maybe we can get a last minute deal on flights and get.
I am going to record at least one episode in person, probably two. So got some guests lined up. Okay.
Yeah, we should figure this shit out.
Bye all to all
well,
the listeners.
Hopefully I was also at the Hacker House. Probably not, but
James is going to
I can hope in advance. Well, I mean, I don't know how it's a rug, but sure. This was fun. We'll see y'all next week. Hopefully with the guest that we didn't have today. Oh no. All right, peace out.